an online event where we are already spending so much time online right now. So I really wanna take this slow and get comfy and get yourself a drink. I actually poured myself a glass of champagne, to be honest. Just cheers to all of you. And if you don't have anything, to write, then get yourself a journal or something, because I hope to give you some nuggets of wisdom that you want to take away with you. Okay. And I want to actually start by giving our logical brain a few cornerstones to orient ourselves in this new space. It's sometimes good to have that in order to feel safe and to really arrive. And it gives you the time to really land here. Okay. So we'll say a few organizational things in the beginning. First of all, sorry guys for spamming you. We really had a little trouble with our email provider, or with the campaign manager actually. I don't know what it was exactly, but we subscribed you to the campaign, then we unsubscribed you, but this somehow didn't work. And then we ended up sending you, I don't know, 5 or 6 emails in a row. I'm sorry for that. But this is just how it is. You know, it's the first lesson that I can give today. This is entrepreneurship, and it's trial and error, and you learn as you go. And this is what we do, and I apologize greatly, but it's part of the process. So for those of you who don't know me, I want to say a few words about myself, because I'm really very much honored and amazed how many people signed up to this masterclass. We're actually almost 100 people that registered, and so many people will watch the recording. Welcome to you as well. And I want to say a few things about me and about my background. So my name is Catherine, you know that by now. I'm a transpersonal psychologist by training, and I'm a trauma-informed leadership and life coach. I'm also an associate professor for business psychology and change management. And I have really worked with hundreds of leaders over the last 10 years and helped them to deepen into who they are beneath all roles and stories and traumas of the past. And the last 2 years have been special in that regard, because I started my own business, Women Rising. And Women Rising is really all about helping women assume leadership, stepping into leadership, claim their space, so to say, and shift paradigms. And I really want to inspire and empower you to lead from a place of innate wholeness and innate sovereignty, and to make the difference that you came here to make. Because I'm absolutely sure that when you are in this room, you are special, and you are not just a person that is going for her own comfort and success, but really wants to make a difference in this world. And this is what I want to help you with. I tend to attract a lot of coaches and healers and facilitators. But if you happen to be a service provider or any other entrepreneur, or if you're not an entrepreneur at all and just aspiring, to be one day, or if you're just looking to find your purpose, or if you're a student, you're just as welcome here. It also doesn't matter whether, at what stage your business is in. I'm absolutely convinced that what I have to share here is valuable for all of you. Okay, so it doesn't really matter. I'm also very excited that I am not on my own here today, apart from all of you guys, of course. A few months ago, I took a really big decision to take somebody on board with me and to help me really build something big. And that's Sarah. So Sarah, some of you have already had contact with her. Sarah, maybe you can unmute yourself and just say hello for a moment so that everybody sees your face.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Sarah. Sarah is really my absolutely wonderful co-worker, and she has done absolute magic over the last few weeks. And you will see her being very active in our community. And if you happen to have any questions of any sort, any organizational questions especially, please reach out to her. She will help you. Also during the master classes, you can use the private chat function of the chat to write to Sarah directly if you have any questions or requests or whatever it is. Okay. Speaking of community, I want to remind you that we have, that part of this masterclass is actually that we have started a brand new exclusive online community on a platform called Circle. The platform itself is really beautiful. It's very clean. It's not so overwhelming like many other social media channels. It's just for us. And I really hold the vision that this becomes a place where conscious entrepreneurs, coaches, healers can come together, strong women, alpha women that really want to connect on a genuine basis and really want to support and empower each other. Because I really believe it's time that we stop the competition and the backbiting and the gossiping and instead hold hands as we rise into our power, into our clarity. And it doesn't really matter where we are at. I think it's actually great when there are women from different stages in their business and career helping each other and mentoring each other. And so I really invite you again strongly to become part of that and to sign up for Circle. You will also find the recordings there of the masterclass. Now, this is important to say. The recordings won't be up there for long. They will be up there for about 1 or 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So it will be 2 weeks before we take them down. And the reason for that is that I want to, on the one hand, hold the energy of the container neat and together, and I don't want to hold it forever, and I really put a lot of energy into that, so I want to hold that, and secondly I want to take it down because it will eventually become a product, so I will maybe package that and sell it at a low price. So for those people that want to have lifetime access to it afterwards, they can do that by purchasing it at a later stage. Okay. Now, speaking about purchase and sales, that might be a little activating for some of you, but I say it anyway. Of course, in the background of this masterclass, there are also preparations for some other products that we are about to launch. At the back end of this masterclass, I will be launching a huge program, which is called the Conscious Leadership Accelerator, my baby, where I really put everything I know into. And I will talk about it from time to time. Now, to be absolutely clear, this by no means means that you are pressured to buy or to purchase anything here, okay? If it doesn't feel aligned for you, if this isn't the right moment, if the investment isn't right for you, just, ignore it. Why? Because I want you to really take the most out of this masterclass. This masterclass is for free. That doesn't mean that you don't invest anything because you are here. So you're investing your time and your energy, and I really appreciate that. Okay. But it also means that you can really take and receive a lot without going any further than that. But for those people who know, I want more and I want to go deeper with these kind of things, and I really like how Catherine teaches and I really like her, then this is for you. So I want to give those people the opportunity to also really learn a little bit what this Conscious Leadership Accelerator is all about. Yes, and we have a giveaway, and the giveaway actually concerns the CLA. The Conscious Leadership Accelerator. So if you say, I would love to attend this thing that I haven't spoken about much yet, and I really would like to be part of it, then you can actually win a membership. So a slot in the CLA that contains access to all of my courses, to all group coaching programs, all mentoring and mastermind calls. And you can win that by doing one thing. The prerequisite for jumping into the jar is to fill in the feedback form that we will send you after the masterclass. Now, to be clear, we will be sending this feedback form to you after each module. You don't have to fill it in each module, okay? This is just if you say, oh, this one session moved me so much, I want to give feedback right now. then you can do that. But of course, we recommend to wait until you have watched all 3 modules. But if you, for some reason, don't get to watch all 3 of them and you want to do it anyway, then of course you can do it at any stage. The idea is that you really share with us what has inspired you, what has empowered you, what you would like others to know about the kind of content you received and are receiving from me, and the energy that you're receiving. So this is the major prerequisite to jump into the chart. If you want to jump in twice, that's possible. So if you want to double your chances to win, then at any stage of this masterclass, we invite you to share a story on Instagram or Facebook and tag us. This is just to, build a little bit more reach. I want to know, I want more people to know about the work I do. So of course, if you feel inspired and if you want to share a little bit, then do that. Share it with your community. We would be really so grateful and honored. But please don't forget to tag us, because if you forget to tag us, we cannot track it. Okay, so use the mention sticker or just use the @ and then normally we should be able to see that you shared something. Now, this is not a replacement of the feedback form. The feedback form is primary. This is additional. So if you want to double your chances to win, then this is how it works. You have time for that, 1 week long. We will actually announce the winner by Sunday. Oh, on LinkedIn too, of course, Kate. Yeah, absolutely. That would be great. On Sunday, the 6th of Feb, I will go live on Instagram. If you don't have Instagram, don't worry about it. You will be notified via email and if you are the winner. Yeah. And if you have already bought the CLA because you got so inspired and you want to be part of it, you will get a full refund, of course. Okay. So that's all the organizational stuff. Do you have any questions so far? Is there anything you would like to know? No, everything clear so far. Maybe one more thing. So because of the times and because of the confusion with the emails. So we have 3 modules today, tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central European time, and on Sunday at 5 o'clock p.m. Central European time as well. All modules will last more or less an hour. It's always hard to really know because it depends very much on what wants to come through. And sometimes I just get into rave and I start to talk a lot, and sometimes it's less and it's more silent. So we'll see what wants to come. But I guess it will be more or less an hour each time. Okay. If you have to hop off earlier, no worries about it. That's absolutely fine. Now, before we dive in, I'd like to invite you to do a brief landing exercise with me to help you to bring all parts with you on this journey and to fully arrive in this space. Over the course of the next 3 days, I will provide you with a couple of exercises to regulate your nervous system that you can use in the future as a tool in your toolbox for yourself and also for your clients. These are very simple but very, very powerful somatic healing tools. And I will speak about how they work and what that actually is and how our nervous system functions and all of that on Sunday. But I thought it's a good idea to sprinkle them in the beginning of the sessions because it helps us to become a little more present as well. Yeah? This exercise that we are going to do is called orienting. We will do this with open eyes. But before we go there, I'd like to invite you to take a moment and check in with yourself. You can do that with open eyes or with closed eyes. And just ask yourself right now, on a scale from 1 to 10, how present am I right now? Just take a snapshot of your inner landscape. How much of you is online right now? On a scale from 1 to 10, how open am I to receive this transmission, this teaching, these tools? And just go with the number that comes up naturally and intuitively. Don't overthink it. And on a scale from 1 to 10, how anxious, unsettled, nervous do I feel right now? Okay. So just register these numbers for you. You can write them down if you like, or just remember them. And then let's begin the exercise. So orienting is really about telling our system that we are safe in the here and now. And all you have to do is to let your eyes wander around the room you're in. And you follow your eyes with your attention. And you just take in whatever your eyes want to land on. And you can do that very, very slowly. You turn your head as you do it. And just become really curious what you see. Really notice the details of what you're seeing. And maybe you're telling me, well, I've seen this room 1,000 times. There's nothing new for me. Then I will say, well, you have never been the person that you are right now. Right here. It's actually, you're a different person than you were 5 minutes ago. So allow yourself to really take in what you see with fresh eyes. Becoming really interested. Again, be interested in the details. Ah, I see the bubbles in my champagne. This exercise can be done really, really slowly, you know. Our technology, our life has become so quick, so fast. And our systems, our internal landscape is not that fast. So give yourself the chance to really digest the information. And slowly draw your attention back, your eyes back to me. And just for a moment, notice what you notice. I notice I've become way calmer. My heart is not racing anymore, so it's become a little bit more relaxed in my shoulders. Notice for yourself what's different in your body right now. And then if you like, you can close your eyes again or just check in with yourself with open eyes, whatever feels more comfortable. And ask yourself, on a scale from 1 to 10, how present am I now? On a scale from 1 to 10, how open am I now to receive what's being given to me here? And on a scale from 1 to 10, how nervous, anxious, unsettled do I feel? Now again, just register whether there has been any change at all. Maybe yes, maybe no. Some of these exercises don't work for some people. That's totally fine. That's why I give you a whole lot of them. But even if it's just an improvement of 1 point, it worked. And it brings you more into the here and now and allows you to become a little bit more present. And I feel like if I feel into the quality of the room right now, it feels a little different. I don't know whether you feel that too. It feels almost as if there is a stillness here now that I can almost, sense or feel. It's beautiful. Oh, hey. So let's dive in. I was wondering how to start this and how to, what's the perfect gateway to talk about leadership and to talk about going vertical and what that means. And when I was preparing, I remembered something very significant, a significant moment in my life that I hardly ever speak about, and especially not in a public setting. But it feels, even though it feels a little vulnerable to share, I want to share it with you. And I will also explain to you why I'm sharing that afterwards. It will definitely allow you to meet myself on a very intimate level, actually. So I was born into a very pretty normal Bavarian family. Bavaria is in the south of Germany. It's quite conservative. It's Christian mainly, but I wouldn't say very religious in that sense. It's just a bit conservative and traditional. My parents are kind, grounded, down-to-earth people. My father is a policeman, or was a policeman. My mother worked for a lawyer. And I wouldn't call them very self-aware or reflected. That's not what they are. But they gave their best. They loved me the way they could, right? Best way they could. However, I didn't feel met or seen or received on the level that I longed for and that I had hoped for. So for a very long time, especially during these early years, I felt very alien in my own family. I still do, to this day, in a way. I was very different from the beginning, in that sense that I was what you would probably call hypersensitive, very sensitive to sounds, very sensitive to colors. I would perceive a lot, way more than most people do. I would feel the thoughts of other people. I would hear voices. I would even remember previous lives. So all the crazy things that probably lead to some sort of overwhelm for a mom that is not very, into that. Even though my mom is very intuitive, I think I actually got that from her. But it was overwhelming for them, and it was very overwhelming for me. And so they didn't know how to handle that, and I didn't know how to handle it. So I tried to kind of shut that down a little. What was very, I think, different or special to me was that from the very beginning, I had a very profound connection to what I call God. Now, to be clear, if this doesn't fit your cosmology, if you don't believe in God, then just replace the word with whatever works for you. You can call it the universe, you can call it life force, you can call it love, you can call it supreme intelligence, whatever works for you, okay? I call it God. And that's the word that resonates most deeply in my heart and soul. So I had a very, very profound connection to God. And that wasn't something that was taught. That was also not something that my parents understood. My sister would make a lot of fun of me because of that, because I would pray and I would be like very devoted. Like it was from the very start my highest priority, this connection. And so one night there was a very specific moment I want to tell you about, because one night, and I must have been around 5 or 6 years old, I woke up during the night, and I felt so much pain. And it wasn't a physical pain, it was an emotional pain. It was not my pain either. It felt like I was feeling the pain of the world, and that might sound overly traumatic, but that's what it was. I felt so much pain, and I was crying, and I was talking to God, and I would actually it touches me when I talk about it. I would actually ask God to take me out. I said, this is not how it's supposed to be. This is not how I want to live. This is so cold. I struggle a lot with the cold, like physically. I don't know why. Physically, I always felt very cold, and I felt the cold, like emotional coldness. I just couldn't handle it. And I wanted to die. In that moment, I just didn't want to be there. I said, I want to go home. I don't like this here. And there was when something very exceptional happened, because it was kind of a awakening moment, or whatever you want to call it. I was surrounded by so much light suddenly, and so much warmth, and so much love. That's like, when I talk about it, it can probably not transmit the how huge that was, and how, moments like that can hardly be put into words, and I'm very aware of that, but I try my best. So I was wrapped into this incredible divine presence, and I heard that I'm exactly at the place I'm meant to be, and everything is perfect, and everything is exactly as it's supposed to be, and that I was in the right family, and in the right place, and at the right time, and that I was needed. And that was the moment when I started to see images before my inner eye, and I started to see myself as a grown-up woman. I saw myself speaking to groups, and it wasn't about what I said. It was what was coming through, and how that landed, or what that did for the people. And I knew that this was what I was meant to be doing. And this vision actually carried me through my childhood, and also through my teenage years, where I often felt very different and received a lot of rejection and bullying. And so it wasn't easy. Now, I'm not telling you this story to constellate myself as a guru here, to be very clear. I'm not. And the people that are close to me can attest to that. I'm far from being that. And I actually believe that the time for gurus is over. I believe it's time that we start to really turn towards our own inner guru inside. And I will talk more about what that means to me, at least. I'm telling you this story because I believe that many of you have, just like me, this sense of being different. Maybe you have had it all your life, just like me. Maybe it only started recently. Maybe you just feel you're not fitting in with this crowd, with this world, and what is going on out there right now. Maybe you also always felt that there is a calling that you have, a greater purpose, that you are meant to contribute something meaningful, that you are here to move something. And maybe you already know what this is all about, and maybe you don't. Maybe you are still seeking what it is about. But there is something in your heart that's calling you, and that's there for a reason. And the people that I tend to attract have something in common. They are not here for their own gain. They are here to lead from a place of love and presence. They are here because they want to contribute something meaningful, and they want to leave the world better than they found it. And I know that you are here for a reason right now, and you're listening to these words for a reason. I don't believe in coincidences when it comes to these kind of things. You are meant to hear that. And I'm just here to remind you of who you are, and to help you find that, and to help you step into that. Maybe you have actually found that recently or over the last 2 years, this urgency of this calling has become stronger. Many people have that. Many people feel like I did, certainly, I did. Many of my friends that I know of have had that sense that, there's an urgency in it suddenly. There is something where you feel, I am like, the time is now. The time I've been born for is now. It's starting now. Like the time I have been preparing, the time I have been practicing for, the time I have practiced for lifetimes and prepared for lifetimes. This is it. Many of you will feel that, right? And it is. It is. I'm absolutely convinced it is. This is the time that we have been waiting for, and we are the ones we have been waiting for. So there is not one guru on the top. There's not one leader on the top that's meant to tell us or that's kind of bringing a solution. No, it's us. It's each and every one of us. It's what I call the new earth leaders. And I know for some this sounds a little bit esoteric, but it doesn't really matter because it is about exactly that. It's about bringing forth a new world. And we are living in a time right now that is very special in many regards. Human history has never been at this point. We are actually approaching an edge as a species. And I believe, or that's what the information that comes from me and has been coming through for years now, is that this is actually a good thing. That we are actually at a point of ascension, that we are actually at a point of awakening. And what does awakening actually mean? Let's break that down. What is awakening all about? All the spiritual jargon, I really like to bring it down to earth and talk about what that actually means. What is awakening? Awakening means that we start to become conscious of ourselves. That means that we are, and consciousness is light. So we are starting to download more light into this place, into ourselves, into the earth. And what happens if light comes into areas where there was darkness before? Well, we start to see what was in the dark, right? And this is what is happening right now. This is why everything feels so dense and heavy and it's something that we experience in our own personal lives. And we're experiencing on a collective level. We are experiencing a strong awakening. We are becoming conscious of what has been in the dark. So the shadows are basically coming to light. The shadows are coming to the surface in us and in the world. The structures, the whole structures that hold this house together, so to say, are crumbling. How we have done life, how we have done leadership, everything is falling apart. And it doesn't make really sense to go and fix the house. You don't paint the walls when the house is on fire. It's not what you do, right? That's not how it works. And this is what many people try to do, but it's not what works. So what do we do instead? We build a new house. And how do we do that? Well, we have to reinvent ourselves. We have to reinvent the paradigms from which we are operating or in which we are operating. So we have to actually think about what is it that wants to be born? What wants to be born through us? What are these paradigms that are already, and this is the point, people. I believe that you are carrying the blueprint for these new paradigms inside of you. So it's actually the future, this new world that we are all long for. It's as a seed already in you. You know something about this. And as these old structures are crumbling and these paradigms are crumbling, we have to rethink how we do certain things. We have to rethink how relationships, relationships. How do we do relationships? It's time for more and new conscious ways of relating. Education. How do we do schooling? How do we relate to our children? How do we do that? Health. Well, big topic right now. How do we relate to our health? How do we do health, right? How do we do medicine? Is that the way, like how we are doing it right now, or how we have been doing it? What is the new? How do we do emotions? How do we deal with our emotions? How do we cope with it? How do we include them? Body and nutrition. All of these huge topics, and of course, work and leadership. We have to rethink, how do we do leadership? What is this new paradigm of leadership? How do we create it? And I will talk about it in a second. But before, I want to say that, there is a reason why you are passionate about a certain topic. Like sexuality is another one, sexuality and intimacy. Like I have a friend, she's an amazing female empowerment coach, and she really helps women to tap into pleasure and sexual freedom and liberation. And a few years ago, she didn't even know what an orgasm was, right? It was her biggest issue. It was her biggest challenge. But this is exactly the thing. Very often, our purpose is deeply intertwined with our deepest wounds and our greatest challenges. If you, for example, struggle with health, or if you struggle with an eating disorder, I hope not, but if you do, and it brings you to kind of research everything around nutrition and health and mind-body connections and all of that, there is a reason for that. Like me, for example, like a couple of years back when I received this vision of women rising, that's another story I'm not going to go into now, but it was also a vision. I didn't want to accept it. I was like, I'm not doing work with women. That's not what I do. I really enjoy working with men. And there was a reason for it, because I have had a big sisterhood wound. Yeah. I grew up with a mom that was jealous. I grew up with a sister that was jealous. I grew up with a lot of women around me that were jealous. And I really, very rarely found a deep connection with women, apart from a few amazing friends. I don't know whether you're watching. I love you. You've been there all my life. You know who you are. And they actually taught me that it is possible. But there was something in me that was really, where it was really difficult to turn towards this idea of working with women and trusting women. And also I saw my mom suffering from the fact that she never lived her potential. So there was pain. There's pain around this, and I think pain is very often the engine that propels us into action, that really that kind of instills the longing in us to be or to be the change, to bring something forth so that others don't have to suffer. And so you can think about that for yourself. What are these topics for me? It's not that we all have to talk about leadership. We don't all have to talk about relationships. So it's really about, what is it for you? What are you interested in? What is this new paradigm that you are here to bring and to co-create? And you won't do it on your own, and you don't have to do it on your own. And it's okay that there are many others that are doing the same, because only in many voices and many people saying the same things, we can actually create the momentum that we need for collective to awaken. So instead of saying, well, I cannot do this because she's already doing that, forget about that. Because nobody will talk about these things as you do. Nobody will come from that place. If you're really talking from a place of authenticity and innate, like really from the inside out, nobody can copy you. And nobody can do what you can do. And if the essence of what you're talking about is similar to somebody else, that's fine too, because again, we need many, many ambassadors, many conscious leaders for this world to become more conscious. So let's talk about leadership. I just looked at my clock and I see, okay, it will be a little longer than an hour. Sorry for that. Let's talk about leadership. So what does it mean? Yeah, what is this old paradigm of leadership all about? And what is this new paradigm, especially of female leadership, about? Now, let's talk about what leadership actually is. Leadership means to empower people, to mobilize people towards a greater purpose. Now, many of you didn't identify with this idea of leadership. When I put it out there, there were some people saying, oh, I'm not a leader, I have nothing to do with leadership and so on. Well, I think it's time to dismantle this idea of what leadership is all about, because leadership is not about a position or a role. In the past, yes, it was very strongly tied to position and status, and it was associated with a certain role, and the authority was assigned to you to lead. Now, leadership was therefore often confused with authority, but leadership is not authority. And the digitalization has turned this on its head. So now we actually see leaders that nobody assigned any authority to, but they show us what leadership is all about. Today, you can even hold a leadership position and not be a leader at all. Leadership is not anymore about any sort of external circumstance. Leadership is, in fact, more an innate quality, a way of being and living in this world and understanding your responsibility. And, in the past, it was very strongly tied to a also very outdated idea of power. So power has a bad rap. Power in itself, by the way, dear people, is nothing negative. Okay, if you happen to kind of have like a thing with power, power is not power over. But this is what many people think, overpowering people. I don't want to, I'm not a leader. I don't want to, tell people what to do. It's not about that. It's not overpowering people or pushing people. No, it's about instilling power in people, evoking it, reminding them of their power, and also using your own power, finding power in yourself, finding power in your beingness instead of your circumstances. In the past, not only in the past, many people still do this, but many people derive power from circumstances. So as long as I have this position, as long as I have this title, as long as I have enough likes, as long as I have enough followers, then I feel powerful. Then I'm allowed to feel powerful. Then I'm allowed to be a leader. No. No. Turn it around. You are powerful because you decide you are. You are powerful here and now. You find the power in how you handle your life situations. Many people feel so defeated when things don't go their way because they are so dependent on their circumstances, and they have not learned to really find the power within themselves. But this new kind of leadership requires us to turn around, to tune inwards, and to really find the power within ourselves. Leadership in the past was mainly transactional. That means you tell people what to do, they do it, and they get compensated for it, normally in the form of money or benefits. There was no transformation involved. There was also no need for embodiment on the side of the leader. Now that has changed big time, because now when you want to lead, you need to embody what you lead towards. You need to be an embodiment of what you teach. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. That's the energetics behind leadership and business. So it is time for us to hold ourselves to a very high standard. Because if we step into leadership, it means we have to step into embodiment first. And leadership today involves transformation. And that means that you're interested in the transformation of the people that you lead. It also means that you're interested in your own transformation. So through you, people can actually see themselves in your mirror. You become their mirror. You help them to recognize themselves on a deeper level. And many of you are coaches, you know exactly what that means. And that's why many of you are predestined and so well prepared to lead. Transformational leadership is all about becoming the role model of what you want people to, the values you want people to adopt, and the strength and the power you want them to discover within themselves. In the past, leadership was very strongly tied to doing, hustling, doing, pushing. The more you did, the more the more you were like, it was very often confused with management, actually. Hustle, run, create. It was way more about what you did than who you were. Now that's changing. The new paradigm is so different in that regard. People start to understand that the intention behind the action is what matters. The energy, the frequency. This is what makes the difference. It's actually way more powerful than the things you say or you do. In a way, it's where the feminine and the masculine are coming together in you and in balance. In the past, and I saw that a lot, unfortunately, when I worked with leaders in the corporate context, and some of you I know do the same. I saw many female leaders that were heavily tapping into their inner masculine in order to be assertive, to be tough, to also be respected. I actually had one experience that shocked me, that deeply shocked me. And I actually wrote about it, and I think I told it at different occasions, but I want to tell it again. It was like I gave a training for top executives, and it was like, as so often the case, mainly men, one or two women. I don't remember whether it was one or two. But this one particular woman, when she introduced herself, she said, "I'm the guy with the biggest balls here." And the men were like, ha, ha, ha. And I couldn't laugh. I was shocked. Because I could see that she was really, of course she wanted to be funny, but I didn't find it funny because I could see how much she has actually split off her femininity and her softness and her gentleness and her sensitivity in order to kind of function in the role she had assumed. And I believe that this is something that was very common in this old paradigm of leadership and is still, unfortunately, very common. And now in this new paradigm, it's really about taking, reclaiming our feminine wholeness, bringing back also our sensuality, our intuition, all these parts of our wholeness that we had to suppress in order to function in a patriarchal society. Now, I know that many of you are part of this movement, so to say, and, part of this leaders that talk about pleasure and reclaiming their femininity and leading from a very receptive and rhythmic place. And some of you already started to align their agenda with their moon cycle and stuff like that. I think that's brilliant. And to harness the power that lies in your own cycle, for example, that's a very interesting movement. However, I also believe that's really about balance here. I don't believe that you can pleasure yourself to 6 figures. I think it's really about bringing these two things together and really, pleasure is great, ease is great, flow is great. Our sensuality definitely has a place in our leadership, but then there's also structure, and then there is the holding of the space, and then there is the nitty-gritty things that we have to do. That's part of it as well. So it's really, in this new paradigm, it's really bringing these feminine and masculine energies into balance. Another thing that I believe is very is changing drastically is that leadership in the past was very much removed from life. It was something that you did in your job, something that happens at work. But it created a kind of a fragmented experience in the sense that it was really like, oh, I'm a leader here, and at home I'm, just a dad or a mom. And, here I don't really need to hold myself to a certain standard. Well, no, that doesn't work either, When you want to lead, if you want to really become a leader of a new world, you have to raise your standards in all areas of your life. It's really about becoming a leader in every area of your life. That's why the work I do and everything that I offer is very integral in the sense that it really is really looking at who you are at your deepest level. And it's also how you're showing up in relationships, for example. It matters. It's all connected. It doesn't work that you lead, the women into liberation and freedom and you're stuck in a codependent relationship. It just doesn't work. Again, partly because it's about embodiment, but it's also because you have to fragment yourself. And the idea is that we come more into wholeness and into a more sovereign state of our being. The more integrated we are, the more whole we are, the more we can lead from our innermost center instead of the periphery. Something that I also observed, and I also believe is changing, is the fact that we are seeing more and more leaders understanding the necessity to be informed by the future instead of the past. What that means is that we are actually doing the work necessary to really listening to the needs of the world and to the needs of tomorrow, instead of taking what worked in the past and projecting it onto the future. By doing that, we are creating more problems. And we're seeing that now. Many solutions of yesterday are today's problems. So we really have to start to really learn how to listen to the future, how to listen to the whispers of the future and the whispers of your soul. In the past, leadership was okay to be reactive, meaning very unconscious, people acting out and being basically driven by their own impulses and habitual responses. This doesn't work either. Conscious leadership means that we are really doing the work required to not longer be hostage to a conditioned version of ourselves, but really taking on the responsibility that it requires to really go deep, to really look at our patterns and to learn how to heal them so that we can become more self-aware and more self-responsible and more free to really choose the response that we want to exemplify. And then the last bit that I want to say here about this new paradigm of leadership is that in the past we had a very leadership was very often, not in all cases, but very often about self-interest. It was about, it was mainly about, your own gains or maybe your company's gains. And it was rarely about anything more than making money or serving your clients well. So, but I believe, these mentors and leaders of the future, they really need to care about this world and about the collective. So it's not about just becoming the most successful version of yourself in terms of I become a millionaire and that's it. That's not, at least not what I'm interested in. And I hope that the women that I'm working with and that I'm attracting are neither. Even though I think it's great to be a millionaire, and please, by all means, all the money into the hands of conscious women. And I'm all for it. I'm all for it. By the way, I think it's actually one of the fastest way to awaken that planet, because when conscious people have a lot of money, they channel it into the causes that are worthwhile and good. So yeah, more money into the hands of conscious women, absolutely. However, that shouldn't be your end goal. Yeah, allow yourself to have a bigger vision than that. Allow yourself to think of what is it that I want to achieve beyond that. Who am I if I'm at my greatest, most expanded? How do I shape this culture? How can I contribute to the collective in a way that it is really serving a greater purpose, a divine purpose, if you want so? Now, all of this, what I just said, and I pointed to that, requires a sort of inner awareness and presence and consciousness that is not so easy. So it requires a lot of inner work. If we really want to be anchored in our sovereignty, in our wholeness, and our innate power and our self-responsibility, we really have to meet ourselves on a very, very deep level. And that's why the Conscious Leadership Accelerator, for example, is all about providing that for you to meet yourself on a very deep level, to strip these layers of your conditioning and to come home to yourself so that you can actually lead from that place and step into leadership in a very conscious and self-aware way. I believe that many of you are born to be leaders, especially transformational coaches and healers. So many of you are that. Bring so much that I believe should have a way greater impact. However, very often I see that especially coaches and facilitators and healers struggle a lot with this idea of assuming leadership or wielding power. And that has, I believe, something to do with the essence of what is taught in coaching or what healing is all about, where you're really the one holding the space, where you're really the one helping others to find their truth. And you are more the mirror, you're mirroring back, you're holding the space, that's for me is, while this is great, it's not enough to step into leadership, because for that we have to source a different energy within ourselves, and we also have to know what our truth is all about and be able to voice it and to take a stand for it. It's not enough to mirror others' truths, but to really know our own. And I believe that's why sometimes coaches struggle a lot with that, because they are taught to do the opposite. Does this make sense? Now, let me just check. Yeah, so one part of that is also, how big is your vision? How big do you allow your vision to be? And this comes back to what I just said about, can you see yourself impacting the culture, the world, the collective? Can you go beyond this individual client of yours or this individual company that you're working for and really see how this transformation of this one person is actually impacting the wider collective? That's an interesting question to ask yourself. How is that what I'm doing here? How is this individual transformation of that person really serving the world on a bigger scale? Because each person that becomes more conscious serves the collective. But the question is whether you are connected to that idea, whether you're really kind of aligned to really seeing that. Yeah. So that's one part that I want to pass on to you today. Now the question is, how do we awaken this leader within us? How do we actually, let me just check. Okay, it's 7:00 now. So if you have to leave, I'm not angry, but I want to talk about what it means to go vertical now. So how can we awaken the leader within us? I call this masterclass Go Vertical for a reason. Because I believe that one of the biggest problems that we face on our way to stepping into sacred leadership is that many of us are stuck on the horizontal level of life. Maybe you are saying now, what the heck are you talking about? So let me show you what I mean. There are two dimensions in life. There's a horizontal dimension and there's a vertical dimension. And the easiest to understand what I mean is when we take the dimension of time. So being stuck on horizontal dimension is be stuck in linear time, for example, being lost in this idea of past and future, being lost in the thoughts about past and future. And this is problematic for several reasons, because if we use past and future to orient ourselves in the world, we do exactly what I said before, what we have been taught to do, but what doesn't work anymore. We are taking our experiences of the past and we are projecting them into the future. And this is what we call a plan. But these plans don't work, and they especially don't work in a complex world where the variables and everything is changing all the time. Now, I had a teacher once who said something very smart. He said, future is not something that lays ahead of us. Future is something that lies above us, so in the vertical. What he meant by that is that you can go through your life without ever seeing the future. You know why? Because if all what your life is a repetition of the past or of your past patterns, you're not creating future for yourself. And maybe you know that, for example, in your intimate relationships, new partner, same old story. And you end up thinking like, this is, how can this be the same shit again? Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The future would mean a higher, more expanded consciousness that allows you to take in something completely different. It's a different bandwidth. We will talk about what becoming more conscious actually means and how we actually step out of these patterns tomorrow. But this is what I mean. If you're in this if you're stuck in this linear level, on this linear horizontal domain of past and future, this is what you do. You orient yourself by looking to the past or looking to the future, and very often you're lost in that, right? How many of your thoughts, how much of your thinking is concerned with either what happened just 5 minutes ago, what will happen tomorrow? How much do you really allow yourself to be in the here and now? But the here and now is the only thing that you have. It's the only thing where we can actually create an impact. It's the only place where we are really powerful in. And, if you're lost in, even now, if you're lost in how you will apply what I'm talking about or how you can use that, or you're already not fully present anymore. And you might miss out on this 1% that has maybe the power to transform your life from the inside out. And this is how often are we going through life with being really hardly present at all. I know that as a mom, I'm totally guilty of that. Like when I'm with my little daughter and I'm kind of just, thinking about what I want to create or this or that, I know I miss out on so many special moments with her. I know that, and still it happens. It happens. But if we want to go vertical, it's really to come back into the here and now. And as we go vertical on this dimension of time, we actually connect to the eternal. Because that vertical dimension also represents the eternal dimension of life where God, the divine, the supreme intelligence, love, whatever you want to call it, resides. Now, even if you might not be interested in the divine or God, and if it doesn't fit your cosmology, that's fine. But you might be interested in the quantum or in the quantum realm. And you might be interested in quantum leaps. There's a lot of talking about quantum leaps. Now, what are quantum leaps? Quantum leaps are really like leaps in growth, success, income, wealth, followers, whatever it is, love, synchronicities that don't really follow any logical order. It's basically exponential growth. It's boom. And it happens maybe when you least expect it. But those quantum leaps they have something in common. And they are happening outside of time. They don't happening on this linear level of time. If we are expecting that things take time, that it lasts that long to achieve this, for example, we are stuck on the horizontal. If we are entering the quantum, where we say it is actually possible to have a leap that doesn't make any sense at all, we are entering this dimension. And part of it is to become fully present in the here and now, and really saying yes to what is in the here and now, because this is the requirement for quantum leaps. You cannot want to be anywhere else than you are and expect to end up somewhere else. It just doesn't work. It's only when we are fully, it's actually the deeper we go into the now, the more we are okay with what is, the more possibilities open up. Does this make sense? It has a lot to do with the quality of our attention that we bring to something. The quality of attention is, by the way, also what marks or what makes your transformational presence as a coach or facilitator. Your transformational presence is really who you are, what you're bringing into the room, and what in itself is so powerful that it has the power to transform the person without you doing anything. And that has a lot to do with the quality of attention that you bring. How present are you? People, even if they don't feel it like consciously, they know it on a deeper level. So the question is, how can we leave this horizontal dimension of time? How can we, enter this quantum, this vertical dimension? How can we connect more frequently, more regularly with the eternal dimension of life? One powerful way to do this is making use of the power of hindsight. So looking back, but not looking back from here into the past, but actually imagining you are looking back from your most expanded version, looking at this moment now. Because in this vertical dimension, past and future become one. Past and future become one. So, right? So you can actually expect that the future is here now. The future is history, so to say. So you can enter that by looking at, so assuming, 20, 30 years from now, looking back to this moment in time, how do I want to have handled this situation? Who do I want to have been? Because if we are on the linear level of time, we actually say, well, I have so much time, If I'm there, then I start to behave a certain way. You know that about yourself? I know that. But I'm like, it doesn't work like that. If you want to manifest something, you better start by becoming a match. And that means to embodying who you're being in that vision. Who you're being in that vision now. And this is how you merge past and future in the now. And this is how quantum leaps are actually made and happen. So the question to you, how can I become more present in the here and now? How can I cultivate a new level of attention that allows the world to really land in me? And how can I connect to the eternal on a more daily basis? There's some reflective questions for you. So let's continue with another expression of the horizontal dimension. And this is how we are actually using the horizontal to orient ourselves by looking left and right. And by that, I mean to other people. We are using others to orient